Good evening. 1,500 jobs are coming to Birmingham as part of plans to build the high-speed railway HS2. It's been announced today that the headquarters for the multi-billion-pound construction project will be based in the city centre.
Also today, the first board meeting was held of a company that will help regenerate derelict land near the planned HS2 terminus. It's claimed that will lead to a further 14,000 jobs, as Keith Wilkinson reports.
It's this area that's to be regenerated, all to pave the way for HS2, the new high-speed train, which supporters say will take the pressure off overcrowded Birmingham New Street and the West Coast Main Line. Today, the Transport Secretary was in the city to see for himself where jobs will be created, to take part in the first board meeting of the new Birmingham Curzon Regeneration Company, and to announce that Birmingham has been chosen as the site for the new HS2 construction headquarters, here next to Snow Hill Station. A lot of talk about how many jobs will be created, thousands. Are these figures just plucked out of the air, or are they based on any facts?
No, they're based on facts, but I think that there is no doubt that we're going to see new developments here and job creation availability, which is good news for the whole of the West Midlands conurbation.
And when do you think we're going to see first jobs created?
Well, there's the announcement of the construction jobs actually coming to Birmingham is a very important move. That's going to start to take place next year. So those are new jobs that are already being brought to Birmingham as a result of HS2.
They've announced 1,500 jobs at the construction HQ. Redevelopment, they say, will deliver 14,000 jobs and boost the local economy by £1.3 billion. Figures that attract great scepticism from opponents. But HS2 Limited say progress will draw in developers keen to get a slice of the action.
As HS2 gets more and more certainty with the second reading and now going into committee stages, the decision to take a long-term lease here in Birmingham, it all gives confidence to investors to invest in Birmingham and around the station site.
This figure of 14,000 jobs, do you know where that comes from? Is it a figure that's accurate or plucked out of the air from somewhere?
Well, it can't actually be accurate because we don't have the people who are currently saying they will employ people there. But it's based on modelling, and what it does, it looks at other successful regenerations. If you think in the city of Brindley Place, how many jobs are supported in an area like that? If you look at what's going on at King's Cross at the moment, and it says what could be likely.
This is really good news. To put 1,500 jobs into Birmingham is good news in itself. But what will follow on is even better news. I think you'll get a multiplier of 2 to 3-fold on that number of 1,500.
Some doubt those job claims. It could be several years before we know who's right. Keith Wilkinson, ITV News.
Well, Joe Rukin, the campaign manager for Stop HS2, joins us now. And Joe, welcome to the programme. Now, we know your opposition to HS2, but surely even you must appreciate that all these jobs coming to Birmingham and the headquarter is good news.
Well, we said since the start that HS2 doesn't really create jobs but move them around, and moving 1,500 jobs that would have been in London to Birmingham doesn't really represent economic growth. But today it's a bit like watching the numbers around on Countdown, where they press a button and a random number appears. You've seen 14,000 jobs being talked of with no real evidence about how to support those. They're saying £1.3 billion worth of economic benefits. Last year, they were saying £1.5 billion, and that's without moving the job. So it's actually gone down. So it shows you about the credibility of HS2's figures, that they are simply making these up to make the case look better.
You even don't agree with the figures they're giving?
Well, last year they were saying £1.5 billion worth of economic benefits. Now they're saying 1.3, and that's with moving all these jobs that would have been in London to Birmingham. So there's clearly no credibility in their figures whatsoever. And of course, on top of that, you're not looking at, say, Washwood Heath, where you could have created far more jobs, far better high-tech jobs, and instead you're going to have nighttime cleaning where they park the trains for HS2, and they don't want to mention that either.
Now, you make the point that there's no economic growth if you're moving jobs from London to Birmingham, but it is economic growth in this part of the world.
Well, absolutely, but this is a problem. With HS2, there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. And say Birmingham might win, but Wolverhampton will lose, Coventry might lose, because what you'll at the very, very best do is suck more jobs to the areas that have the stations at the expense of other places which probably need the jobs more.
Joe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Other news, Birmingham Crown Court has heard how a